Hello, I'm Chris Solo, and welcome to the Fabled 42, where we build community through friendship, gaming, and chaos. You are watching Quests and Answers, where we go on the quest to find those answers. I was about to say Wizards of Ukodor, but we are talking about Wizards of Ukodor, and today we're talking about, specifically in this series, the School of Divination. And I have with me a very special guest, Utahime.
Hi guys, I'm Utahime. You can find me at Utahime Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitch, and Brianna DeCosta on Twitter.
Very excited to have you here. I know we've talked a little bit about this offline, but go ahead and tell the audience a little bit too. So, this is your first time playing a wizard, right?
Yes, it is. I remember seeing when you posted it up in the Discord chat, and I was like, I have been kind of a little bit nervous to try to do a spellcaster because fighter classes kind of just it was natural for me, having a martial arts background and everything. I was like, oh, being a fighter, but then I was like, you know what? I need to try to challenge myself and do something a little different, and just to kind of learn and see maybe I'll actually end up liking it. And I ended up going for it, and luckily was one of the lucky people who got a chance to be a part of Wizards.
Yeah, and seeing the other characters and things that you play, Qizana is completely different, and when it's especially like tonight.
Sweet baby, precious baby, Qizana.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to see you as Qizana, and then tomorrow night we're going to see Ash, and you're going to see a complete contrast. You're like, whoa,
oh yeah,
what? Like,
definitely.
So it shows your range, so it's fantastic. So,
thank you.
Now that you've played a wizard for 6 months, we'll call it, and I know we haven't done a lot of combat. It's been a lot of role play, but there have been scenarios and things, and you've been studying, and that was kind of the theme of season 1 and 2 was. Yeah. We're not doing a lot of things because you're still learning. Like, they're not going to put you out in the real world until you're
that
ready.
Knowledge, yeah.
So what are some of your takeaways of what you know about divination and just being a wizard in general?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I went in not knowing much about any of the schools of magic at all, and it was really interesting because I remember. You saying for everyone to say kind of what school of magic you thought that you should be placed into, and my at least for Qizana, the reason she wanted to go into illusionary magic, but there was a reason behind that with her backstory. It wasn't necessarily that she really cared per se, but it was just that her character felt like, oh well, I have to try to learn this magic for this reason. And you were like, are you sure you don't want to do divination? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I mean, I'm open to it.
Yeah.
And then we rolled, and, it was like fate would have it that Qizana would end up, the dice decided. But it was interesting because when I started reading up on divination, I was like, oh, this is actually really cool because you can kind of see things that are hidden and kind of foresee things and get some insight into the opponent's defenses, different things that actually you can buff up your team and, see invisibility, all these different things that actually help in battle and give you, an edge, because let's face it, wizards are very squishy for the most part. So that comes in handy when you can add a D4 to rolls, saving throws and things like that. And portent, oh my God, I can't believe that I did not know about portent ahead of time until now. But I'm like, yes, divination, bless. It's that being able to roll those dice and then be able to dictate the roll, like ahead of time and say, nope, actually that creature who's trying to attack me, no, they failed. They failed their roll. That's handy. That's nice.
It's very handy, and it's kind of it was fun with the mechanic, and we've talked about this in some of the other Wizard of Ukodor specific question and answer segments. Is that you guys didn't get to choose? Some of you were able to advocate for certain things, and some of the teachers who felt connected to you guys as players would kind of throw their 2 cents in, but still it was still a very big game of chance where you would roll it was a D12 because there's 12 schools of magic. Yes. So I had assigned each school of magic to a number, which now it doesn't work because now there's 13 because the order of scribes is a thing. But whatever. But I'm glad that everyone's already assigned and we're fine. But it's been kind of fun because it's been mostly roleplay, and you guys only use your spells really in the beginning, and there's been some utility stuff that you guys have kind of done this past season. Tonight will probably be different. But then
Da-da-da.
season 3 will definitely be a lot different too, because I have these fun games and challenges where you'll be able to use like your full spread, and we'll see if we get to it as well, where there might be some not outreach, that's not the right word, but some excursions where 6 wizards and maybe some NPCs, you go out of the school into the real world to do something.
That would be really cool.
But then you think about, wait, we're 6 wizards, we're 6 squishy people going out and doing XYZ, like
that's a little nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Nail biter experience right there, but at the same time, that would be really fun.
Yeah, it is really fun.
Let's go.
So thinking about divination magic and thinking about some of the spells that you've done and everything else, what are some of your favorite spells that you have maybe not used yet, but you're very excited to use?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like Qizana is not necessarily the way her character is. She tries to not, really hurt anyone physically, or, like she's not a fighter per se. But at the same time, she is, a strong wizard, but she's trying to figure out other solutions to how to solve a problem. And so she's always going to try to find the non-confrontational aspect of it, or, no violence, which is good. But it's going to be interesting because I feel like there's going to come a time where she's going to have to do that. It's going to, it's like, okay, now you're put in this situation. And I feel like I'm excited to try to use Mind Spike. It's one of those it's not really like super, super fancy, but it's just like, I kind of want it to be like where, all of a sudden something triggers where she's like, oh no, like now I got to do what I've got to do. And, kind of get into the mind of someone doing some psychic damage. I'm excited. I'm excited for her to kind of, get a little edgy in that sense and kind of, mess with someone in that way. That would be cool. I mean, if they don't save, that is. That's always the foil in the plan where you're just like, oh, that would have been great. But then,
that's where, like, if you have like a normal party, it helps because you have people like bards that could hinder that enemy's saving throw on their next throw. Like, bard could do it for themselves, or if they know that the wizard is right after you, I can put a negative on their saving throw, which would then make your more powerful spell successful. But it's going to be interesting to see a fully wizard party kind of going out and about and like doing things.
Oh my gosh. But, one that I use a lot, like I actually use frequently, and not necessarily, and we haven't really had those, I mean, a little bit, but not as in depth with using all of our different spells. But I've used Detect Magic a lot, actually.
A lot, yeah.
So, and it actually it's really helpful, at least I find in other campaigns. And I'm sure that once we, start doing different things and like knowing the School of Magic that something is from, and being able to get that insight in order to be able to handle it appropriately, I think, it actually comes in handy, even though it seems like some people kind of lean away from it, but I'm like, no, that's, if you're detecting traps, if you're detecting magic, all these things, again, help the party. And, it can be, the deciding factor between like whether or not you guys actually survive or you guys suffer some loss as far as HP.
Yes. So it's going to be, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So thinking about divination, have you looked into like things that you get down the line? Have you looked at some of the abilities and stuff?
Yeah. So I was looking and I was like, okay, seeing certain spells, like I also too am a fan of like anything dealing with telepathic bonds. Like being able to talk to your party and kind of like where like I like role playing that, where it's like you tell your team information, but and hope that there's not on the other side the enemy has someone who also is telepathic and you're like crap. But oftentimes it does work. I've done it in the past, but it's great because then you're like, okay, all right, go to the left, go here. This person is X, Y, and Z. This is the way that you enter this way, and you guys are all connected that way, and then kind of able to plan and strategize. But I'm looking forward to that for sure because I think it's really, really handy. I mean, foresight is going to be amazing. That's a ways. Not that. Well, I mean, I guess it's not that far off, but yeah. I don't know how our level of system is going to work from this point on. But foresight is going to be great because we're going to have, that gives advantage on attack rolls and ability checks and things like that. Yeah. Which again, always useful. Greater portent.
Yeah, greater portent.
Who doesn't want that extra bonus roll that you can change your fate, so to speak. So all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many the third eye thing, and it's fun because me as a DM, and now I've played a wizard once, but before Wizards of Ukodor started, I had never actually played a wizard, and I've only DM'd one, briefly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm still excited and learning about these different abilities and things that each of you get, because it's 12 different schools.
That's a lot.
When do you get 12 chances to play a wizard? And even if you got that many chances, are you going to try something new, or are you going to go with what works? Because you're like, I just want this wizard to not suck. And how many times do you change, what you order at a restaurant, right? You don't pick something new every time. You're like, oh, no, faithful number 3. That's what I go for, right? So it's an interesting thing when I get to kind of dive in here, because third eye, I didn't know that you guys
that's
get
another
that,
cool one.
which is ridiculous. It's just straight ridiculous. You get all sorts of great things, and it's at level 10. So at level 10, you could read any language.
Yeah, that actually is it. And for studying, that's perfect. Awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, there's so many, scrying. There's so many different ones that I was taking a look at, and I'm like, ooh, okay, something to consider. So far, I think I've chosen spells that are connected kind of more so that's probably the dumbest thing to do. I did not do it based on battle at all. It was mainly things that I felt like Qizana as a wizard in this world would have, and with her family coming from a family of clerics, and certain things that would just kind of come natural as far as helping others and things like that. So it wasn't necessarily to be battle heavy, which now it makes me nervous, because then there's that part of me that's like, ooh, but I'm like, no, this still works if you do what you need to do correctly and effectively. Your group will be okay. So I think that it's just a matter of, now it's going to be a cool challenge to try to strategize and figure out, okay, since I'm not battle heavy, how how can I still help the team, and how can I actually try to do a little damage myself. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
Awesome. Is there anything that you're looking forward to, being Qizana, being the divination school, in future levels, and in future levels, just specifically in this campaign, in the Wizard of Ukodor campaign? Is there anything that you're really looking forward to, or you're curious about?
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to, again, I built her as kind of this insecure, kind of unsure, trying to come into her own, the type character, because that I saw that in myself when I was younger, and finding herself and finding that confidence and growing as a wizard, growing as a woman, as a person. And I'm going to be excited to see that, because now it's become, where it's multiple seasons, that growth can happen. And I love that character development, but also too, as a player, and being able to, as at playing as that character, being able to, even in battle, have them where, like I mentioned before, she wouldn't try to do any physical damage to someone, but then there's going to come a time where it's like, no, I actually have to take offensive, not just defensive, and and playing that out, and that's going to be really fun to do. And so it's that growth of the character, and learning how to utilize these different spells as we get to higher levels, and having her learn how to use them effectively. So it's like I'm growing with Qizana in a way. It's like, I don't know the first thing about a wizard, but I'm learning the more that I'm a part of this show, which has been really awesome, because it's like I'm growing as a player, and then Qizana's growing as a wizard, so it just works hand in hand.
That's awesome. And that was kind of the purpose of this Q&A in the beginning. Is it's still y'all very, very new in Wizards and in this campaign. And you think a year and a half from now, when you all are level 20 or whatever, we'll do another one like post and like just kind of get some reflection on what happened and how you feel about Wizards now, and like would you play Divination Wizard again, or would you want to try something new, and all that. So now thinking about Qizana in this light, with the events that have happened in prom and then post prom and leading into well, I know I called it graduation before, but this is actually your ascension ceremony, where you guys are ascending to the upperclassmen, where you get more things and you actually really start to become a wizard. How is she feeling now?
I think that it was definitely, last episode was an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. So I think that, she's experiencing her first love. She's experiencing almost like that like grief all over again, like a kind of a traumatic experience from like her village basically being decimated, and only her like parents and her sister and her barely escaping with their lives and trying to start over. And the fact that, even Magnus would try to make her believe that her, like he got to the rest of the family, and like kind of those head games and different things. So it's like that kind of like just all of those different things. And then, fearing that Othello was lost, but then he's not. And it was just, I think that it's just like she's trying to process all of these different things, but she's realizing that, things are getting serious, they're getting real. So she's having to step up, and she's having to start to own the fact that I'm a wizard, I have certain abilities, I can help, I can do things, I can fight back, I can't be afraid anymore. That's the main thing that was like kind of like a key thing for her in that episode, was like, I'm not afraid. She'd telling Magnus, I'm not afraid of you. That was like probably the like a little bit of a breaking point for her, where she's like, for her old self, now she's like, wait, no, I can't, I refuse to let this happen again. I'm going to protect the people that I care about at any cost, even if it means me putting myself in harm's way. And so I think that it's now she's getting to that point where you're seeing those changes in Qizana, and it's just going to continue from there. And I'm excited to see that progression myself. And it's been very natural, especially with our amazing group, because everyone's so great as far as like just role playing and being their characters. And me working with Ben has been awesome, because that wasn't planned. We were both divination students, and a romance developed with our characters, and it just was like, that just seemed natural. I don't know why, but it worked.
Well, it makes sense though, because like if you're both divination wizards, which means you guys would be studying a lot together, you'd be around together, you'd be doing all the projects together. So things like that. It would just be that natural growth of whatever was going on
into something more.
But
that's been awesome, because of the fact that certain things that I didn't know were gonna be revealed, and surprises for me that I'm like, oh my god. But that's for Qizana, that was a lot of her like, what is happening?
There's gonna be a lot of that. I mean, I'm getting messages almost every day. Everyone's like freaking out. Are you gonna kill me? Are you gonna like, why? Why would I want to kill everybody? Like, you said you want to be here for next season, so why? But there's a lot of things. I mean, and we've talked about this in some of the other segments and stuff, is that Wizards of Ukodor was built to be a campaign, or like a buddy campaign to realms. That was its sole purpose. It was to establish some characters. It was establish, Travanis and her origin story, because she's a big bad in the Third Age. So, but it's evolved into something so much greater, where it's very exciting to see where this is, and now it's its own thing. And I talked with Renee before about, and I don't know if you recall this or not, but when wizards hit level 20 in Ukodor, you become immortal. You don't age, you don't die, unless someone kills you, obviously. But a lot of wizards will choose to ascend to godhood, but a lot of them stick around. So like, there's an opportunity at the end of this series where the wizards stick around. So like, Qizana becomes canon in the world of Ukodor. And if it's hard to nail that down now. Like we did it with Anna because Anna played Anna as a villain, so then she's already kind of canon, and we've altered the timeline a little bit with Gwendolyn going back and stirring the pot and all this other stuff. But I don't want to establish it too much in the future, because then what if something actually happens, and then we have to find a way to if Qizana is the goddess of peace in the future, because the goddess of peace gets murdered at some point, and then you take her mantle, that changes a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
So like Nafako for realms worships the goddess of peace, which is her name is Nafa. So like you couldn't technically take that because that's in the future. So then she wouldn't be worshiping Nafa, she'd be worshiping Qizana. But there's ways where gods that are not being spoken for currently, or it's just people, like you're part of a council. Like we could tease something in the future with that. Yeah.
And that's the cool thing, is that it's one of those things where it's like kind of like there's so many different opportunities, and I kind of love going with the flow of things. And Qizana wasn't supposed to, most of us didn't write our characters to be past just the first initial episodes. But it's funny because of the fact that I play Qizana's sister in another campaign, but her situation is totally different, and she's she doesn't really get the chance to see Qizana so often. So the fact that different things are happening in different worlds, but they're connected too. It's fun because then I kind of get to play with that whole aspect of things, and what if her sister becomes a goddess? What? How does she respond to that?
So many things. Yeah. But we are out of time. So, Utahime, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me again at Utahime Cosplay, Utahime Cosplay, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. And then you can find me, Brianna DeCoster, on Twitter.
Thank you.
Fable 42.
Fable 42. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am Chris Solo. You can find me at DM Chris Solo on all social medias. Again, we went on the quest to find your answers. We talked about the School of Divination and Qizana, Moonshadow of Wizards of Ukodor. We thank you guys so much. If you liked what you watched, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.
Do it.